Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. This Zoom is creating all kinds of problems. I don't know why. And my internet is gone. So I'm having to use hotspot. That's probably one of the reasons why. I don't know what is the reason, but can
Because of using the same link, even though we can face the problem, sir.
sorry.
Because of using the same link, even we can face the problem, sir. Technical problem.
I don't know, but I keep changing links every time. No, so but anyway, let's see. Uh,
Yes,
Prashant was saying he couldn't get in. Uh, can you
I
just inform him quickly
yeah, yes, sir.
so,
Yes, sir.
so that we can start off?
Yes, sir. I may say.
Yeah, because this is a little confusing. So okay, shall we start off while Prashant joins us? Praveen?
Yes, sir. He is joining, sir, now.
Okay, so I'll start off anyway because we're losing time.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, sir.
yeah. I just want to try and finish this off. This particular last part, the vocabulary of political philosophy, constructing a political reality through choice of language. I would like to finish this off today. Now, uh, the 20th century saw a number of movements in studying political philosophy, which concentrated upon the text that was being studied. So you could be studying Plato, you could be studying Hobbes, you could be studying Locke, you could be studying any one of them. Now, what these people claim, the new movement, I had given you two examples. I'll just quickly go through them so that we'll have a continuity in whatever we are discussing. There has been a break. I have been ill, and therefore I could not take two of your classes, for which I apologize. Uh, I want you to remember that uh, when we are looking at the whole idea of political philosophy, people started saying that one must look at how language is used. And I gave you a particular example. The example that I gave you is that of uh, Claude Levi Strauss, the uh, anthropologist, cultural anthropologist from France. And he uses a particular example. And I hope you remember I asked you the question, um, uh, whose son was Naga Chaitanya? And you all said Nagarjuna, but after checking on the internet, I think Praveen Naik told me Lakshmi also. So anyway, so here's another googly to once again uh, make that point. You're all familiar with Mahesh Babu, I guess, the actor. Am I correct in assuming that? Okay. Um, if I'm correct in assuming that you know Mahesh Babu, Can you tell me who his father is?
Krishna, sir. Superstar Krishna.
Superstar Krishna. Who is his mother? Hmm? Rakesh? Who is his mother?
Sir, first wife, sir.
Who is she? First wife. Correct. But who is she? We don't know. Okay. We don't need
Yes,
to
sir.
know. We think we don't need to know. The
Okay, sir.
lineage is passed down from one famous person to the other. Okay. So you will say, when you talk about Mahesh Babu, nobody knows his mother's name. Everybody will say that he's the son of Ghattamaneni Krishna. Okay, the superstar, as you have called him. Now, this, according to Claude Levi-Strauss, is a myth construction, because he has not been produced exclusively by Krishna, right? There is also a wife involved in it. But in building reputations and in calling him prince and all that, what do? You basically concentrate on the person who's famous, and you will also concentrate on not concentrate on those who are not famous. For example, if you take my case, you don't know my father's name, you don't know my mother's name, both are equally irrelevant because I am not a famous person, right? But when it comes to famous people, lineages are drawn from those people who are famous, and the other person who was party to the procreation of this, let us say in this case Mahesh Babu, is completely ignored. So this, for Claude Levi-Strauss, is one form of myth construction. Okay, and he is a structuralist, and he did cultural anthropology using linguistic structuralism. And if you take the other example that I was giving you, and we got cut off by Zoom rudely, the example is that of uh, Roland Barthes. Okay, actually it's not Roland, it's written R-O-L-A-N-D, Roland, B-A-R-T-H-E-S, Barthes, but he's a Frenchman. He's also a structural linguist, and he also worked extensively on mythologies and myth constructions, and his name is pronounced Roland Barthes. Okay, it is pronounced Roland Barthes. Roland Barthes gives us another example. He says wine, okay, W-I-N-E, wine, the drink, is actually nothing but another alcoholic brew, B-R-E-W, brew. Okay, an alcoholic brew, just like you have so many other alcoholic brews. You have, for instance, you have whiskey, you have beer, various kinds of beer, lager, stout, all those kind of beers. You have so many other alcoholic drinks, but wine is considered to be a connoisseur's drink. This is what uh, Roland Barthes says is the claim of those who make wine and those who drink wine. Okay, it's not meant for the ordinary folks. It is meant for the extraordinary folks, people with a lot of money. But the reality is that wine is one of the cheapest alcoholic brews and the easiest to make. You can also make it at home. You can make it at home, which you can't with other kind of alcoholic brews. So he says, how did this happen? How did wine come to become this connoisseur's drink? He says he was obsessed with an actress of that particular time, whose name was Greta Garbo, Greta, Greta, Garbo, Garbo, not Greta Thunberg, the new environmental activist teenager, not her, but Greta Garbo. So he says advertisements were used showing Greta Garbo actually sitting and drinking wine and saying this is the world's greatest drink. So she endorsed it. And obviously she gets paid for it. Okay, nothing, nobody endorses anything for free. So he says through celebrity endorsements, and that too through actresses rather than actors, there was a certain kind of social acceptability first, and second, these are celebrities. Through association with the celebrities, the drink itself came to be seen as something which was, only indulged in by the rich and the famous. So wines, which would probably cost 20 rupees to make, were sold at prices like 10,000 rupees a bottle or 12,000 rupees a bottle. Okay, just by saying that this is a rich person's ladies' drink. And so he says film stars like Greta Garbo, Audrey Hepburn, all of them are used in order to promote various different kinds of products. So this, he said, is one form of myth construction, because wine is the cheapest to make, easiest to make. Whereas if you want to draw this thing, a whiskey is far more complicated, far more difficult to brew. And if you really want a good whiskey, it should stand in a barrel for at least 20 years. It has to stand in a barrel for 20 years. Only then will it become a good whiskey. So if that is expensive, there is some sense in it. But whiskey has never been seen till very recently, in the last 10 years, it has not been seen as a connoisseur's drink. Barth claims that it is whiskey which actually should be seen as a connoisseur's drink. But wine being seen as a connoisseur's drink is something which one should see as nothing more than myth construction. And he blames television for it. He says television is what shows all these things, and it creates a certain kind of perception in the minds of consumers, and these perceptions are those which go on to create these myths. Now, I don't know if you have heard of a Telugu film actor of many years ago, who is considered to be the greatest actor that South Indian cinema has produced. He went by the name of S.V. Rangarao. I don't know if you've heard of him. Amazing actor. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, you've heard of S.V. Rangarao?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Maya Bazar.
Yeah, Maya Bazar, but Nartana Shala, where he plays Kichaka and all those. He's an
Okay,
amazing
sir.
actor. He's an amazing actor, a great talent. And he, by the way, is the only Indian actor to win an international film festival award in Bangkok, Thailand in the 1970s. And uh, his film Nartanashala, where he played the role of Kichaka, that came for an honorable mention in the Festival of Cannes, Cannes. Cannes is in France, and this festival is held every year. And he got an honorable mention for that particular role. And when he did this, at that time there was no ban on advertising uh, cigarettes. So immediately Will's Navy Cut was the brand of cigarette, which belongs to ITC, Indian Tobacco Company, which is a subsidiary of British American Tobacco. They signed him on and said this man smokes Wills. And apparently there are studies that show that after SV, and SV Rangara was not a smoker. That is the best part. Okay, he was not a smoker. He was apparently given this contract to with by paying him money. So he endorsed Will's Navy Cut, and the uh, sales of this shot up. Okay, so this was happening in newspapers in India. I gave you an example from India. Okay, whereas Greta Garbo, Audrey Hepburn, they were more television figures, and that too in Europe and America, not in India. Now, if you take this particular example, then it is how you use mass media in order to generate certain ideas about things, about how at one time it was cool, as people call it, to smoke. Now, of course, if you're found with a cigarette, people will say, horrible fellow, throw that away. But at one time it was considered to be very, very cool to smoke. So actors were routinely used. So that is something that leads to the construction of an idea of those who smoke cigarettes are cool. Now, if you take this to politics, there is a writer who goes by the name of Benedict Anderson. Benedict Anderson wrote about nationalities and nation states. Okay, and he wrote this somewhere in the 70s. So, right now, that particular argument is outdated. And even at the time when he wrote it, I believe that there was good reason to question some of his premises. But let's not start by questioning without telling you what is the actual thing that he said. He said nation states are built, or nationalities are built through news. So he says he primarily talks about newspapers. He says newspapers routinely reinforce nationalism in people. Okay, he says they reinforce nationalism in people, and as do debates uh, between members of various political parties, they also contribute to the building up of a spirit of nationalism. Spirit of nationalism is that we feel that we are one nation. I am an Indian. So he says there is no such thing as a nationality. There is no such real thing called I'm an Indian, or I am an American, or I am a Frenchman. Okay, none of these things are really there. What he says are these are imagined communities. People imagine that they are one. There is nothing connecting them in reality. Okay, that is the argument that Benedict Anderson makes. He says there's nothing connecting people in reality except for the fact that you read newspapers, mainly news magazines. Doesn't talk so much about television. I don't know why, because television was pretty much a big thing already. And if you look at America today, CNN is something that promotes the Democratic candidates, and Fox News promotes Republican candidates. Okay, so that's why you see President Trump always targeting CNN and saying that it is not even a decent news channel. Anyway, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but what Anderson says is that there is a reinforcing of the idea that we are one by making us believe that we are one through, you know, newspaper articles and all these other things that we talked about. So he says nations are not real communities. They are not people who are relate. A family for him is real. Why? Because you are a brother, sister, father, whatever it is, there is some kind of relationship which is transmitted through blood or genes or whatever you want to call them that. But a nation for him is a purely imagined community. Okay, and he says it's a modern phenomenon. And by modern, he doesn't even mean the technical modern I told you, which begins in the 16th century. He talks about it more as a 20th century phenomenon. Now, this argument I would ask you to set aside. I would ask you to set aside because a nation is first and foremost built upon shared beliefs, not based in imagination, not at all based in imagination. Okay, a nation is always built in a set of shared beliefs among people. And though nowadays it is a crime to talk about Mahatma Gandhi, it is Gandhi who built political nationalism in India when there already was cultural nationalism. People across the length and breadth of what became India as a country had shared set of beliefs. Okay, people knew about the Ramayana, people knew about the Mahabharata, anywhere in the country. People knew about these things. And these are all shared beliefs. And Gandhi also said that in India, by adhering to religion, one of the good things that happened is that there was a moral stitching of people into one nationhood. Morally, people believe my religion may be different from yours, but ultimately there's only one God and we are going wherever we are going after we die to the same place. You may choose. The example he gave is you can have one destination, but you don't have a single road. You can have many roads. You can choose many roads, and he equated religions to many roads, and he said the destination is to be in the presence of God. Okay, so that is how the shared set of beliefs came to be built. And this is something that you have to know, because even today, after trying so hard, the BJP is not able to unite Hindus the way it wants to through the Hindutva platform. It is not able to do that. Okay, there has been a lot of support for Muslims when the CAA, NRC things were happening from Hindus. And any kind of violence between the two in the past have been incited by political leaders. Otherwise, in India, because of polytheism and pantheism, where we see, the universe itself as God, and where we see the whole idea of there being innumerable gods, we don't mind. If you go to the Ajmer Dargah for the annual Urs, as it is called, URS, the Urs of Banda Chishti, who was a Sufi saint, there are more number of Hindus who go there than there are Muslims. That is one of the striking features. Okay, and Tirupati temple, a number of Muslims come to visit. At one time, they had to sign a declaration that we believe in this God, but now that has been waived because they are just coming. People said if they are coming, they're coming because they believe. Otherwise, why are they coming? Okay, so you see that there has been this kind of a melting pot effect, not entirely, but to a great extent in Indian culture. So India had a cultural nationalism. They had a culture, we had a cultural nationalism, unlike the US, which didn't have a cultural nationalism. Okay, that is why they say Indian Americans, African Americans, Irish Americans, German Americans. Okay, we don't say, we say just Indian. Who are you? I'm an Indian. If I become a citizen of America, then I'll have to say I'm an Indian American. Okay, but here, anybody, any religion, any caste, yes, those are all bad things, but still, we simply say we are a religion. So Benedict Anderson is wrong in his idea that nations are imagined communities. They are not imagined, they are real communities. And India is a standing proof of that. Nearly 75 years after it attained independence. When it got independence, people said India will not last even 5 years. And I think it's a matter of great pride when Asaduddin Owaisi went to Pakistan and he was asked, what is the state of Muslims in India? His answer was, why are you bothered about Muslims in India? Muslims in India are fine. You take care of yourself. You take care of Muslims in Pakistan. Don't worry about India. In India, Muslims are fine. This is what Asaduddin Owaisi actually said in Pakistan to a Pakistani journalist's question. So it's not an imagined community. A nation is a real community based in some kind of connections that people have been able to forge. I'll just take 2 minutes of your time. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my friends, and we discovered after so many years that my father and his father were friends. We discovered. Okay. My father was alive till last year. We didn't discover this yesterday, but we discovered it a couple of years ago. And both of them were students of Osmania University. And I said, when this friend of mine came, I said, this is the son of Professor Anwar Mozam, who was in Islamic studies. And my father looked at him and said, Anwar Mozam, I don't think his real name is Anwar Mozam. His elder brother is Mozam Ali Khan, and he is Anwar Ali Khan. And when he started writing Urdu poetry and going to musharas, he combined his name with his elder brother's name. Isn't that so? And my friend was stunned. After all these years, my father remembered, and when he went and told this story to my father's, my friend's father, he remembered my father. So these are all, and there's a strong bond of Hyderabadiness. You people won't know that. I'm a born, bred Hyderabadi. Hyderabad is in my whole body. Okay. So that is not some imagined thing. I could have gone abroad, but I didn't for various reasons. One of them was I wanted to be in Hyderabad. Okay. So if we do look at nations, they are not imagined communities. So you must be very careful with how much you will push this idea that language generates feelings of a certain type among people. It is fine as long as it is Greta Garbo drinking wine. It is fine as long as it is Mahesh Babu claiming to be son of superstar Krishna. It is fine at that level, but at this level where Benedict Anderson talks about nationalities as imagined communities, that is utter pure rubbish. Now, you should therefore start looking at what people have called postmodernism.